Well, hello there, do hope you're all well. Now, I don't normally do one at the weekend because I usually like my weekends to myself, watch a few live streams, play a bit of games, and watch my football and just maybe have a couple of cheeky beers. But this week I've been covering a lot of stuff with, this extreme Brexit Tory government's Tory sleaze because there's absolutely shed loads of material to use, and if it ain't that, then it's been the Brexit debacle. But a couple of days ago, I sort of like bumped into this article, you could say, about the migrant crisis in Belarus, and I thought about doing something about it because I thought that's really interesting. It's the first time I've heard about it. But I think what put me off was the fact that what I know about Belarus and stuff like that, I could write on the back of a stamp, still have enough room for my name, address, bank details, phone number and postcode, and enough room to talk about my dull, boring, dreary Yorkshire life up here in West Yorkshire. So that's probably what put me off a little bit. But after I'd done all my videos, what I wanted to do, and uploaded them and finished, I thought, right, see what other topics I could get some ideas of what I could do. The situation with Belarus popped up again. And I'm thinking, there's clearly more to this than meets the eye, and I think, maybe you should cover this. Because I thought, well, I've got some fantastic subscribers who are, I think, shed load of you, far more intelligent than I'll ever be. So I thought, why don't I cover it, and you people can put your tuppers two penneth worth in, and if anything I'm not you think I'm not right about, you can always put me in the right direction, and I'm quite happy with that because I'm always willing to learn. But anyway, let's cover this article in the Telegraph, which is called "Hold Belarus Accountable for Bid to Destabilise EU Border," says Western delegates in UN Security Council call for strong reaction from international community, but make no mention of Russia. Now, like as I said, when it comes to this article, the one thing I found, there seems to be a lot of claims, counterclaims, denials, and it seems to be everybody else's fault except their own, and or whoever else who's involved. And the real victims are these poor people stuck on the border of Poland. But anyway, let's get to it. It's in the United States and European delegations on the European UN Security Council have urged action over Belarus's behaviour on its border with Poland, describing the migrant crisis as orchestrated and saying Minsk was endangering migrants for political purposes. Poland says the government of strongman Alexander Lukashenko, that's the strongman bit, but I suppose it seems to be the way the world done it these days, has lured about 2,000 migrants, mainly Kurds from the Middle East, to Belarus for the purpose of sending them across the border into Poland and thus the EU in revenge for sanctions. These people are now living in a tent camp on the border in near freezing temperatures. Poland, which has established a state of emergency in the border region enforced by hundreds of troops, refuses to allow them in. After an emergency meeting on the crisis, the Western delegations at the Security Council in New York issued a joint statement condemning the orchestrated instrumentalization of human beings whose lives and well-being have been put in danger for political purposes by Belarus. They said Belarus was doing this with the objective of destabilising neighbouring countries and the European Union's external border and diverting attention away from its own increase in human rights violations. This tactic is unacceptable and calls for a strong international reaction and cooperation in order to hold Belarus accountable. The Western statement said, without mentioning any kind of concrete measures to punish Belarus. It demonstrates how the Lukashenko regime has become a threat to regional stability, We call on the Belarusian authorities to stop this inhumane actions and not to put people's lives at risk, it added. Poland, along with other EU members such as Lithuania and Estonia, claim that Lukashenko has enabled thousands of people to travel from the Middle East through Minsk and to the EU borders as revenge for the sanctions imposed against them for his harsh crackdown on dissent in 2020. Bolivia, the Belarusian state airline, has strongly denied it is involved in any trafficking of vulnerable people from Middle Eastern capitals such as Damascus to the border with the EU. On Friday, the airline said it would stop citizens of Iraq, Syria and Yemen bordering flights from Turkey to Belarus at the request of Turkish authorities. In line with a decision by the Turkish authorities, citizens of Iraq, Syria, Yemen will not be accepted for transportation on flights from Turkey to Belarus from the 12th of November 2021, Bolivia said in a statement on its website. The statement at the Security Council made no mention of Belarus ally Russia, whose Deputy UN Ambassador Dmitry Polyansky rejected Western allegations that it was working in conjunction with Minsk and said that migrants over the EU's eastern border into Poland. Absolutely not, he said. So there just seems to be claims, counter-claims. You've no idea what's going on. Lukashenko is backed by Russian President Vladimir Putin in the standoff, and the Kremlin board leader staged another strong show of support for his ally by sending 2 nuclear-capable strategic bombers on a training mission over Belarus for a second night on Thursday. For a second straight day on Thursday, should I say. Lukashenko has threatened to cut deliveries of gas to Europe via a major pipeline in retaliation against any new sanctions that the EU might impose in response to the border crisis. The EU has called Lukashenko's facilitation of illegal border crossings a hybrid attack. Belarus denies the allegations but has said it will no longer stop refugees and migrants from trying to enter the EU. Ukraine said on Thursday it would deploy thousands of guards and security personnel to its border with Belarus. Ukraine's Interior Minister Denis Monastrisky, sorry if I butchered your name, I'm from Yorkshire, what do you expect, said thousands of security personnel would run drills on the country's shared border with Belarus, a counter a potential crisis with migrants. The Belarusian defense minister said 2 Russian Tu-160 strategic bombers practiced bombing runs at the Ruzhny firing range, located in Belarus about 60 kilometers, 37 miles east of the border with Poland. As part of the joint training, Belarusian fighter jets simulated an intercept, the ministry said. A pair of Russian Tu-22M3 long-range bombers flew a similar patrol on Wednesday, and Belarusian air defence assets practiced intercepting them. A Belarusian defence minister said that such Russian bomber flights will be conducted on a regular basis. The Russian military said the bombers spent over 4.5 hours in the air during the mission, intended to buttress the country's alliance. It said the bomber patrol wasn't aimed against any third countries. Asked about flights of Russian military planes over Belarus, Polyansky said this was in response to what he called a massive build-up of Polish forces on the border. We have no obligations also within the unity between Russia and Belarus. So if there is a build-up of military resources on the border with Belarus, we have to react. This is just reconnaissance flights, nothing more than this, he said. Now asked if the deployment of Russian forces on the border, the Ukraine meant Russia planned to invade its neighbour, Polyansky said, never planned, never did, never will do, unless we're provoked, of course, by Ukraine or by somebody else. Russia's national flag carrier, Aeroflot, responded to reports that the EU was mulling sanctions against the airline for its alleged involvement by bringing refugees and migrants to Belarus. Aeroflot strongly reject the claims. Now, I came across this other article from the European Parliament News, and that says Poland-Belarus border MEPs alarmed by humanitarian and political crisis, saying the EU must stand united in its response to the Belarusian regime's inhumane instrumentalisation of migrants, MEPs said in a debate on Wednesday. Now, when it comes to these articles of the MEP, I'm in trouble when it comes to these names, so if I'm making absolute pig's ear of them, I do apologise. But anyway, in the plenary debate with EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell on Wednesday afternoon, MEPs expressed their deep worries over the dramatic crisis currently unfolding at the Polish-Belarusian border. They also repeated their strong condemnation of the current tactics of the Belarusian dictatorial regime of funneling migrant flows to the EU's external borders, escalating the situation with neighbouring countries, in particular Poland, as revenge for European Union sanctions. Vice President Joseph Borrell repeated that the European Union is currently engaging in wide-ranging diplomatic efforts together with the countries of origin in order to find solutions and prevent more trafficked migrants from arriving in this way. At the same time, he stressed that Belarus authorities must provide humanitarian assistance to the people trapped in the Belarusian border area, including providing access for humanitarian organisations to the region and to allow for humanitarian corridors. He also announced in upcoming discussions on expanded EU sanctions. And in this situation with migrants trapped between security forces during the debate, several MEPs voiced alarm over the deteriorating humanitarian situation at the Polish-Belarusian border, with people trapped between border forces being exposed to winter weather conditions. They urged the Polish authorities to end the ongoing aggressive pushbacks of migrants back into Belarus and to accept assistance from the EU's agency in handling the humanitarian situation. Deploring that this support has been refused so far, other MEPs focused on the urgent need for aid organisations to have direct access to the Polish-Belarusian border in order to help the migrants stranded there. Some parliamentarians called the EU funds to be used to build a fence to protect the Union's external borders from irregular crossings and hybrid attacks, while others firmly rejected the idea. Other MEPs stressed the need for more EU sanctions against Belarus, while highlighting the Russian government's behind-the-scenes role in the ongoing crisis, calling for dialogue with Moscow to find solutions. And like as I said, it's just basically claims, counterclaims, denials, and then it's blame everybody else. As I say, I don't know who's at fault here, but it does seem to me that this leader of Belarus does seem to be quite not a nice person, does he? And I just feel sorry for these poor people stuck in the middle of this absolute shit show, and all I want is just to get away from countries where they're being persecuted and they just want a better life, and they've got to go through this. And did he funnel these people to the border to cause problems for neighbouring countries? I don't know, but it looks likely, doesn't it? But anyway, I think this video's gone long enough. Hope you enjoyed the two articles. It sort of like gave me a little bit of a better idea and a bit of better understanding. So, what do you guys think? Right, I shall leave the video here, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell. Take care.